Hey everybody, good morning. It is about 7:46 on this Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. But as you can see down here, and I want to give credit to the media man, if you will, or Double M, as we're going to call him throughout this. But here, I'm going to read off basically his pros and cons, if you will, of the Mecha Sally arc. Basically, what he sees as good and what he sees as wasn't good. You know, pretty much the good and the bad. Alright. Okay, here's what he says, and I quote: "Hey everybody, I'm back for something different this time. I'm not doing a review for this one, oh no. I'm doing an analysis. And what am I going to analyze? What? Analysis. So I'm still waking up. And what am I going to analyze? The Mecha Sally arc, of course. I'm not finished with it yet, for I'm here to... Okay. I'm not finished with it yet, for I'm here to analyze the arc and give out the legitimate pros and cons of the arc. This will be a non-biased analysis, since I'm not like the other Sonic critics, Archie Sonic critics, and they're biased against everything to do with the Mecha Sally arc. I'll start off with the pros and cons of the arc, and then do the analysis. This will allow me to go into a little more detail than I did in the two-part review of the arc. So let's get started. Now the pros are pretty much, they just go like that. The pros. Pretty much all the good stuff I mentioned in the reviews. The strong character development, old characters being given new purpose, the removal of the echidnas, the story getting more intense, etc., etc. Now I will provide a link to the review down below. Or links, that is. Now, here we go with the cons. And I quote: "First con that he finds," and I quote: "Nicole's exile was overturned way too quickly for my liking. I already went over this in the main reviews, but it bears repeating. Nicole was exiled in issue 235, and come issue 241, her exile was overturned, and she's back in the city. Why? But at least Nicole's exile wasn't pointless or anything. Like I said, it helped issue 240 to happen, which is a good thing. Nicole is able to contribute to the secret freedom fighters, and contribute secretly so no one will ever suspect her being involved with them. And it gave Nicole some character development, as she experiences new emotions and copes with the crap she's been going through. But had her exile been prolonged, she could have had even more character development. This is a case of, quote, they wasted a perfectly good plot point, unquote. This is one of the really big cons of the arc, and one of my big pet peeves with it. Second con that he finds. Mecha Sally, okay, second con that he finds, and I quote: Mecha Sally needs to be more badass. Mecha Sally's supposed to be the big bad of the arc, and for some reason, she spends most of it running away. Also, her fighting doesn't seem that impressive, and a little all over the place. She manages to hold off Sonic in 234, and with the help from Metal Sonic in the Eggman arc from Sonic Universe, floored Omega, and even managed to fight Monkey Kong as himself and Iron Kong and survive. But in issue 236 onwards, she gets floored by Tails and ends up stalemated with Amy? What the heck? Though to be fair, maybe Mecha Sally has some of Sally's free will. Though to be fair, maybe Mecha Sally has some of Sally's free will left in her, and it's making her hold back, or maybe she's playing mind games with team fighters in order to slow them down and break them. It might be the latter, since she performs well against them in 247 and even nearly kills Sonic in said issue. If this was me writing the arc, I would have made Sally more. If this was me writing the arc, I would have made Mecha Sally the most invincible robot ever and made her near impossible to defeat. That would have been better. Alright. Third con that they find with this. The third con. The Olympic Games tie-in. This issue had no business being here. It should have been a second story instead. But oh no. Sega had to interfere here. But no. Sega had to interfere. When will companies stop screwing around with their products and just let the writers do what they like? Game tie-ins shouldn't be made into a full issue. They should be a second story. Same goes in the All-Star Racing's tie-in in Sonic Universe. Next con, I should say. The next con they find. Quote, the fragile story from issue 232. As lovely as that story was, it ended up leading to nothing and was entirely pointless. I still like it though, but why is it here if it doesn't lead up to anything? The Timpton brothers made a pointless contribution to the to the comic. Next con, the last con they find. The last con they find, and I quote, the freaking lawsuit. And this is what he says, and I quote, while I don't think the lawsuit's done much damage to the arc, I'm glad Endangered Species turned out the way it did, it's definitely going to harm the story arc later on, for Jeffrey St. John being possessed by Naugus is going to end up going nowhere and just be a pointless shock moment. Thanks a lot, Penders. And certain characters that were crucial to the arc, like Elias, Acorn, and Harvey Who, will be suddenly gone. Right now, the lawsuit may finally come to a close now. Right now, the lawsuit may finally come to a close now that Sega's getting involved. But that doesn't mean that the characters are going to instantly come back. Comics are written months in advance before they're released. And I bet right now they're scripting 265 or something at the moment. Sorry about that. I hit the mic. That was my fault. Um, Endangered Species itself must have been made around 2011 time, and it's 2013. And it's 2013 now, and the lawsuit's still going on. Thus, when the inevitable happens and Archie wins, it'll still be a while before the Pender characters can come back, and thus the damage is still done. And those plot points won't end up going anywhere. Penders, do you still manage to Penders, how do you still manage to screw up the comics even when you're not writing for them? All right. Let's see, continuing on. And this is what they say, continuing on, I quote. Other than those, though, I think the arc is worthy of song and praise, and is Ian's second best story arc, with Iron Dominion in first place. Now on to the analysis. Does the Mecha Sally arc really deserve to be criticized like it is being? No, it doesn't. It is far from bad, and is nowhere near on the level the critics make it out as. I think it's an epic journey around the world, and shows the characters in a tough situation, as they're trying to catch Eggman and save Sally, only to constantly have obstacles thrown at them. It's intense, it's fun, it's funny at times, it's shocking, it's heartbreaking, it's serious, but not too much. It's everything a good story should be, and some. True, it could have been even better had the cons I listed not happened, but that doesn't make it bad in the slightest. It just means it's a story that has flaws like any story does. People criticize this arc for making characters OOC and being biased and one-sided. But that's a load of bullcrap. And they know it. I've gone into great detail why nobody's out of character in this arc, and the story isn't biased and one-sided either. Both the Sega and SatAM cast have had their setbacks. On the SatAM side, Sally, Bunny, and Antron have been roboticized, put into a coma, and gone AWOL, respectively. Whereas on the Sega side, Sonic's lost his girlfriend, Sally, and experienced defeat in the horror of nearly losing a friend. Knuckles has lost his entire race to a Tasmanian devil, and Tails and Amy have had to cope with all the crap that's been happening and the pain of losing Sally to Eggman and Antron being put into a coma. True, the Sega cast could have had more misfortune, but I still don't think the story is entirely one-sided. And need we bring up those S9 Sonic is heartless claims? Only an idiot thinks that. If Sonic was truly heartless, then he wouldn't be flying across the world to save his girlfriend, while also saving other lives along the way. He'd just stay behind and leave Sally in Eggman's hands. But no, he's not. He's risking his life. He's risking life and limb to try and save Sally, because he has a big heart and cares about her. And he saves other lives because that's what Sally would want him to do. And not doing so would make him heartless. So, Archie Sonic critics, for once in your lives, think. I know Sonic did some jerky behavior like that stupid course I was like that stupid of course I was the cooler looking robot line in jeering Jeffrey in his trial, but I already explained why those are no excuse to accuse him of being heartless. And none of the other characters are heartless too. So stop saying that already. It's so untrue that you could define it as untrue in the dictionary. Looks in dictionary? Untrue. A word used to describe false claims made about Sonic comics. You see? Now on to the next problem here. Okay, so on to the next problem people have with this arc. The length. I can't for the life of me think why people think this arc is padding or dragging on for a 2-year length. Every issue has a purpose, and I've explained this in the reviews. And I've explained it in the reviews. And I've explained in the reviews why it's not padding. The length of the arc is pretty natural to me, and the whole arc is actually a pretty breezy read to me. It doesn't feel like it's dragging at all. Besides, if it was over quickly, you guys would complain it was too short. So it's not like you'd be satisfied regardless of how long it was, or how long it is. He knew making the arc too short would be boring, dull, and a waste of time. So the fact that it's on for longer makes it more meaningful, more intense, more exciting, and once it's over, it'll have a long-lasting impact on the comic as a whole. So making it longer is a good thing, not a bad thing. If anything, I actually wished it was even longer. I'm not kidding. I would like it if the Mecha arc was even longer. Honest, I do. That way we could have more time to expand on Augustus' time on the throne of Castle Acorn and the situations in New Metropolis. The Nagas subplot itself has infinite possibilities, so the arc I think should be longer than it already is. Also, longer stories are better than short stories. You don't have to rush everything and cram it all into one space. You have more time to develop characters and plot lines, and you have the chance to make it truly worthwhile and not just an event that won't have any impact on the comic. Not to mention longer means less predictable, and we don't like a story that's predictable, do we? Oh no. So the Mecha arc is even better because it's longer. Say what you like about this, but I firmly believe the arc was made better by being longer. I know people won't agree with this, but hey, that's what opinions are for. I have mine, you have yours. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, let's get into the story in general. Why is it the way it is? Why did Ian Flynn tell it the way it was? The simple answer is the fact that, well, Ian knew that if the story was just about trying to save Sally, then it would be boring. True, the story is still about saving Sally, but there's more to it than that. We have Nagas ruling New Metropolis, we have the Tails dolls screwing around with the nanites, and we have the Echidnas in peril, and Eggman joining forces with Dr. Riley for Worlds Collide. All this variety and all these plot twists and plot points added to the story varies things up a bit and makes this arc have more to it than just trying to save Sally. The whole World Tour or 2, it's a lot of people like to call it, the whole World Tour 2 we've had has done brilliantly at giving us more variety in keeping the story interesting and exciting. Had these not been added, then the arc would be boring and over too quickly. It's exciting these additions that made the arc even better. Alright. It's exactly the not exciting. It's like I said, I'm still waking up here. Uh, it's exactly these additions that made the arc even better. It's not just about saving Sally. It's about saving everybody while facing hard challenges, loss, and change in the status quo. Because of this, the arc has more appeal since some people like seeing new places that aren't often visited and enjoy seeing the heroes struggle to save somebody. So that's why the story is told the way it is. Ian Flynn knew better than to resolve and okay. Ian Flynn knew better than to resolve this. Alright. Ian Flynn knew better than to resolve the story pathetically, easily, and quickly. And he also knew how to keep it up the interest and stop the arc from getting stale and old. It may not be perfect, but it's leagues above anything else ever written by the other writers. Even Endgame. Speaking of Endgame, this is why the Mecha Sally arc is better than Endgame. It's longer. It takes its time. It's better written and doesn't throw crap for the sake of it. It has subplots that actually go somewhere. It doesn't make the characters idiots just to get the story to work. Mecha Sally is like Endgame, you know, if it was done right. I can see the similarities to Endgame and how people say this is Ian Flynn's equivalent to Endgame. The big difference being is its worlds better than that god awful story. That's not just me being a Flynn boy, as you critics call us. Endgame is legitimately a bad story, whereas Mecha Sally is legitimately a good story. I've gone into great detail why Endgame sucks and why Mecha Sally doesn't, so I don't need to further justify myself. When you really pick apart Endgame, it really is a bad. When you really pick apart Endgame, it really is bad. Whereas Mecha Sally, pick it apart as much as you like, you all agree that Endgame is worse. So that's it for this one. I hope you like this little analysis and the pros and cons of the Mecha Sally arc. This is all strictly opinion and how I feel ill about it. This is all strictly opinion and how I feel about it though. And how I feel about it, although. So don't rebuttal any points I make. There's no need for it. I have my opinion and I'm entitled to it just like you guys are entitled to your opinions. Alright. So, basically, those are his analysis and his pros and cons of the Mecha Sally arc. And I already know, and no offense, Double M, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some people that are not going to agree with what you said. Some are even, I can already see, and Double M, I know you're listening. I know you would agree with this. When you say that you would want the story arc to be longer, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to look at you, and with all due respect, they're going to be like, hey, we understand you have your opinion and all that, but are you freaking kidding us? Longer? It's like, what more do you want from this? So I'm sure you're going to probably already get that. But I have to say it was a very good analysis, and you had more cons than pros. So, but yeah, that was Double M's cons and pros and cons and analysis on the Mecha Sally arc. I'll provide a link to it down below, as well as all the links to both his to both parts of the review of the Mecha Sally arc. And then someone did their own analysis and response. So yeah, I'll provide the links down below. Comment if you like. I'll talk to y'all later. I have to get up and get ready for church. Peace out. God bless.